Mayor Scott and I, Mayor Scott mentioned Mayor Schmoke, have been talking about how can we be truly impactful? How can the Orioles, as a pillar organization, make a difference? I mean, a lot of times you do things that are ceremonial, or you cut ribbons, you talk to the media, but we really wanted to be at grassroots and make an impact. The mayor has personal experience with College Bound. He's lived every day of his life in the city. I've lived every day of my life in the city, and this seemed like an effective and return on investment, efficient way to get the most people, most kids in need, most families who could benefit through a program that's time tested and that everyone speaks wonderfully of, and it's a need in this city to reinvest in the education of our younger people.
How important is it for you to hear the mayor speak of the importance of this team in the city? This team isn't in the city; it's of the city.
Well, I think that's the way I looked at it when I was a fan of the Orioles in the 70s and 80s and 90s before I became involved. And I was fortunate to have this entree to this just by luck. And that's, if it weren't for my family or my parents, my father getting involved, I wouldn't probably be here. If it weren't for this program, Mayor Scott was, very humble to say he doesn't think he'd be here. So we all get our breaks in different ways. We all need a helping hand. And for the mayor of Baltimore to say that the Orioles are of Baltimore means everything. Means everything.
Does this also speak again to the commitment of this team to the city for fans who are paying close attention, the ones that worry about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does, but I think that, that's really never in doubt unless you're trying to make a headline or tweet something out. When you sit back and reflect and really think about what a pillar like the Orioles means and what it ought to mean and what it will mean in the future, that's really not in doubt. So I don't think anybody should think of that. I think we should think of what you just said a moment ago of the Orioles being of Baltimore, and what I said in the past about Fort McHenry and all those things. I mean, those things are deeply felt, and the city means everything to us, and it's the only hometown we'll ever have, and the only hometown the Orioles will ever have.
And lastly, when you look back at when you first brought in Mike Elias and hired Brandon Hyde, and you look at where the organization is now, is this as good or even better than maybe what you imagine?
I think in the sense that, I think for sure in this at least one sense, maybe others. If you really think about this, the management team that the Orioles have today was really announced in the fall of 2019. Mike Elias had been on board for some months, but as you well know from covering sports and baseball in particular for so long, that first 6 months or whatever it is for a GM, especially when you're hired in that sort of speed dating time between the end of the season and the holidays, it's a 4-alarm fire. So I really date this management team that includes Mike Elias and his team within it as having started in the fall of 2019, which means we've had the success we've had in 36 months with essentially an 18-month global pandemic overlaid, which cut out an entire season of minor league baseball, the majority of an entire season of Major League Baseball. So, yes, that's way ahead of schedule. And then, of course, the other milestones, going from in the mid-20s or wherever we were, rock to number one in baseball, graduating multiple number one prospects in all of minor league baseball, 31-game turnaround. Now, you and I both know injuries happen and sophomore jinxes and all those things, knock on whatever this is. But I think we're heading in the right direction. And I think we're still adding to our management team. You might have seen Cal Perry came on board. And, that's huge to me. Somebody from a totally different industry, really from the industry of journalism, who's been an international person and wanted to be part of this. And we've had others that have come on board, either from other organizations, from other sports entirely, or from other industries entirely. And that's going to happen more and more, because this city's too important a place not to get the best and the brightest. And what really my litmus test is are the people good people? Do they have perspective? Are they reliable? Are they trustworthy? Are they competent and capable of what they do? It just so happened I had the good fortune to run to Mike Elias in 2018, and he checked all those boxes. The fact that he's also been particularly good over the last couple of years at his job is, and he's going to be here a long time, and so is Sig and all of the folks, and I just couldn't be more optimistic. And I mentioned in the press conference, this is a great time for the state and the city. There's great leadership, great unity, and anything's possible. We just have to get after it, and I think the Orioles are all in on that.